Most scariest 5th round knockouts ever seen in UFC. If there's anything to not forget about the UFC, it is that it is never over until it is really over. We love knockouts and KOs, and they could come anytime in a fight. However, there is nothing better than a last round knockout. Like a buzz beater to decide a tightly contested fight. Yeah, those are the best type of knockouts. In that regard, here are the scariest and craziest 5th round KOs in UFC history. Number 6 Jairzinho Rozenstruik vs Alistair Overeem. When we say scary, Rozenstruik tearing Overeem's lip in half with one punch was truly a scary moment. And it came at the buzzer too. Jairzinho Biggie Boy Rozenstruik put his undefeated record on the line when he fought MMA legend Alistair Overeem. Just as it was looking like a loss for Jairzinho, he threw an annihilating shot that would drop Alistair. But this punch did not just put Overeem down. It split his lip in what's deemed one of the most graphic injuries in UFC history. Well, this was a controversial finish. Overeem had won most of the fight. He was in control and looked to be heading for victory until what some might call a Hail Mary overhand right from Rozenstruik landed in the last 10 seconds of the fight. Overeem was sent crashing to the canvas by the rocket-fueled Rozenstruik punch. As Overeem fell to the floor, he discovered part of his lip was missing in what was one of the most gruesome injuries you're ever likely to see. Rozenstruik, evidently satisfied with his handiwork, then turned his back on his stunned opponent and walked away, leaving referee Dan Miragliotta to wave off the action. The fight was stopped with 4 seconds to go. The referee looked hesitant at first, but called a stop to the fight while Alistair was getting up. Well, after the fight, several fighters expressed their dissatisfaction with the stoppage. Well, another 5th round finish faced that such controversy was Alex Pereira's knockout on Israel Adesanya. Number 5 Alex Pereira vs Israel Adesanya. Alex Pereira's KO of Israel Adesanya is one of the most iconic in recent memory. Both fighters jumped straight into the fight without any delay. Like you would expect from seasoned strikers, the two traded blows in the open. Potent was more often the aggressor, but the last stylebender was quick with counters of his own. The last stylebender's flush right hand and left hook at the very end of the round marked the most notable exchange of the round. This could have ended the fight if the bell hadn't sounded, but Pereira successfully recovered and had lots of strong moments in the second round. He scored early and often with a stiff jab and even finished the round with a surprise takedown. In the third round, it was Adesanya's turn to showcase his grappling skills in a rare display. He scored a takedown off the clinch and spent the majority of the round controlling Pereira's back. Through the fourth round, Izzy seemed to be on autopilot. But in the fifth and final round, Pereira put a stop to that by pummeling Adesanya with several hard punches, including a left hook that brought to mind their kickboxing match. Based on the judges' scorecards, Adesanya was up 3-1, and if he had survived the round, he would have gotten the unanimous decision over his fierce rival. This is just another of those fights that could have gone either way. But perhaps not as tightly contested as Usman vs Covington's first fight. Number 4 Kamaru Usman vs Colby Covington. Kamaru Usman's 2019 welterweight title fight with Colby Chaos Covington was no doubt one of the biggest grudge matches in UFC history. The fight was built around a genuine dislike that was fueled by some controversial, some would say quasi-racist insults from Colby. Despite not being known as a striker, Usman had cracked Colby's jaw in the third round before his TKO win in the fifth and final round. After a closely fought 4 rounds, the end came in the last when the Nigerian Nightmare dropped Covington with a right hand. Covington got back to his feet, but Usman dropped him again with another right hand and followed up with a flurry of hammer fists on the ground before referee, Mark Goddard, stepped in to call it a TKO. The judges had scored the fight very evenly until that final round. The fighters lived up to the beef and delivered a hard fight. The fact that the Nigerian Nightmare was able to put his bitter rival away late in the fifth round definitely capped off the story perfectly. But this is not the only great welterweight bout with a bittersweet fifth round ending. Number 3 Georges St. Pierre vs BJ Penn. Yes, folks, this list cannot be complete without the Greasegate scandal. This was the fight against BJ Penn, where GSP was accused of greasing in between rounds. It was their second meeting, with BJ looking to become the first fighter to simultaneously hold titles in 2 weight classes in the UFC. Well, GSP had other plans. The first round was quite even, with Penn stopping all of GSP's takedown attempts and even making him bleed. But in the second round, GSP was able to get a takedown and wear Penn down. The third round was more of the same as he landed takedowns with methodical ground and pound. GSP repaid Penn by bloodying him up. The fourth round was just continuing the third round, with GSP beating down a gassed-out Penn. After the fourth round and lots of damage suffered, Penn's brother threw in the towel, and the fight was over. Well, the fight was announced as a TKO win for GSP at 5 o'clock of round 4. We just had to sneak this one in. Number 2 Yair Rodriguez vs Chan Sung-Jung. Rodriguez's insane KO of the Korean Zombie will go down as one of the greatest knockouts in UFC history, but it only manages to take the second spot. If you want to watch a fun fight, this is one of the best in MMA history and was a 24-minute and 59-second war. Chan Sung-Jung was largely in control, but the momentum often shifted throughout the fight. Yair is as wild a striker that the MMA world has seen. However, it seemed that the Korean Zombie was the perfect combination of wild and textbook to stifle Yair. With 10 seconds left in the fight, both fighters agreed to end it with a bang. The Korean Zombie waded towards Yair but ran into a hard-to-explain elbow. As TKZ rallied defenselessly, Yair changed levels and landed a Hail Mary buzzer beater. It was an upward elbow from behind the shoulders that met Zombie's chin and left him face down at 4:59 of the fifth round. With just 1 second remaining, Rodriguez pulled off one of the most insane KOs in history with an elbow to the jaw out of nowhere. Number 1 Leon Edwards vs Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman appeared on both sides in our video today. With a swift head kick in the fifth round of a fight he was winning by all accounts, Leon Edwards knocked out the overwhelming favorite Kamaru Usman to steal the UFC welterweight title. The finish came at 4 minutes, 4 seconds of the fifth round, making it the fourth latest finish in a UFC title fight and no doubt one of the most stunning knockouts in UFC history. Leading up to the fight, Usman was the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. The Nigerian Nightmare dominated the fight after the first round and was up 39-37 on all three judges' scorecards entering the fifth. But with about a minute left in the fight, Usman leaned down to his right to defend an Edwards left before being caught flush with a left head kick. Usman was less than a minute away from his sixth title defense and was about to tie Anderson Silva's winning streak record. The knockout went on to earn Edwards the UFC knockout of the year. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more.